from the other past meeting, but the prior meeting, right, Christina?
Correct. The last
So-
meeting, I don't believe we had a quorum, so.
We did not. So the minutes were provided to you. So I'd take a motion to accept the minutes as presented in your email.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Same sign for those opposed. Minutes passed. So Christina, I'm going to turn it over to you. There's not a lot on the agenda, but I'll turn the second item over to you then.
So the next thing we have on our agenda, are vacancies. We still have a vacancy for a vet, and very soon we will have another vacancy, to fill Dr. Ruddy's position. So to my knowledge, we do not have any applicants that are waiting in the wings. If anybody knows of anyone, I would encourage them to either let me know, or send them a link to the city's page. I can always share again, the link to the application for board vacancies. It is online. They can also do a PDF copy of it if it makes them more comfortable, or a printed copy. Will do whatever they need. Is there any discussion? No?
Talked to
Okay.
every vet I know that practices in Independence or lives in Independence, and it's difficult to find someone willing to donate that time.
Yeah, no. We are still down a vet down at the shelter. Vets are hard to come by. I understand they are extremely busy. And that a lot of the vet clinics in our area are also trying to hire a vet. They're also down vets. So it is a real shortage in our area right now. The next thing on our agenda is an update for the health department. Are you okay with me leading this, Dr. Ruddy? I know-
Absolutely.
Okay. There were some questions that have come up recently. And I know that one of our board members would like us to discuss some of these issues and cover an update for the department and let you guys know where we are. So first on the agenda, I put our budget and our funding. I can dwell into
Christina,
great. Yes,
could-
sir.
At your and Dr. Ruddy's grace, could I give a little background on why these are on the agenda? Is that okay?
Of course. I mean, I'm fine with Dr. Ruddy.
So, City Hall is once again discussing whether to have a health department in the city of Independence. For those of us with a lot of gray hair, we were around when the health department was eliminated, and it was done without any pre-planning and was very poorly handled. And the implementation then was very, very poorly done. So we ended up with not a good assessment of what our department was doing at the time and what the county was doing and how that meshed, and it led to some frustrations. The return of the health department was handled about the same way. There was no planning on its return to define what services were going to be provided and staffing, and it all just sort of came about afterwards. So there wasn't any plan. The return, which I supported, we were in a pandemic, and I personally pushed to get a return, was purely a political maneuver, and there wasn't any planning in the process. The city, there's some folks at City Hall that are once again discussing this potentiality. I voiced questions as to could there be some discussion, planning, conversations on levels of service that the city provides, and what are the levels of service that the county provides, and where are their differences. Some of the concerns are the deteriorating revenue stream to support our health department. I fear that those are the primary revenue streams for the county's health department as well. And so if it's due to those funding issues, how do we look at those and consider those? The city has a health levy and it has some potential. And so I've voiced that whether we keep or disband our health department, we need to make sure we've got the revenue to support the services that our community needs. And so it seems like we're approaching another awkward moment. There's interest in having some sort of evaluation, and I said I was going to bring it up at the Board of Health meeting. There are some, the city does do planning. I don't know what it is about our public health agency that I believe I can make the case that there was no planning on either getting rid of it or bringing it back. But recently, the city's expended funds to do a park master plan. The city has expended money, and I would advocate extraordinarily well to consider IPL and its governance. And that was a well done study and led the community towards some decision making with some analysis and data to support it. So the city's capable of that. So I engaged, I had a nice chat with Dr. Morris and with Christina and said I thought we ought to get this on our agenda and start some discussion. I don't, it's Dr. Ruddy's last meeting and he's not going to tolerate this going on all night. And this is a big topic. I think I would advocate we might consider a resolution to City Hall saying if this is going to be discussed, then we ask that there be some planning in the process and maybe they acquire there's some retired local health directors that are doing consulting, and actually the last state health director, Paula, has hung her shingle out. And so there's some capable people that could provide guidance to the conversation and provide outside expertise to the conversation and provide some analysis to the decision makers of which we're just advisory. Thank you for letting me give a preliminary thought on the issue.
No, context is helpful. When these kinds of decisions are in the offing. So Christina, I'll turn things back over. I guess it's been put on the table that possibly a letter from this group to the city council. So Jason, do you want to make a motion to have a discussion item on this so we have some kind of formality on it, or is this just for future consideration? How you want to handle that?
I think so. I'm open to conversation, as I voiced to folks at City Hall. I having been around all this stuff for too damn long, this board has some really smart people, minus one mouthy guy. And so I think if the group is willing to engage in the topic, I think that as building a consensus position would be an appropriate thing to do. And so I wanted to just bring the topic. I am absolutely ready to make a motion that the board, and I don't have anything prepped here, so I'm freewheeling, but that the board would communicate to City Hall the interest in participating in this conversation that has begun and request that they bring on some consultant to assist the city and the Board of Health and the Department of Health in analyzing its service levels, revenue streams, and costs compared with the potentiality of the county. Christina wasn't writing, so I'm really in trouble because I can't repeat that.
No, that's fine.
Well,
I guess my reaction.
We are recording, so you are good.
My reaction is I think others need time to digest this as well. I think it was wise to bring it forward. If you want to, I guess, the next meeting, but needed some kind of letter be sent on behalf of this board to the council that a study of some nature take place. At least that's what that's my initial reaction. I don't want to, I'd like others to voice their side of this.
I'd agree that's the way we need to go. This is a time of fear on kind of all sides in public health, and I think we need to have a good idea what the city's plans are for maintaining that, and if we're considering doing away with the city health department, we need to know what it is we're replacing it with, and funding these services is never easy, but it becomes even more important as infectious diseases are going to rise significantly in the next 10 years or so. And so I support Jason's suggestion.
I'm going to offer appropriate wait time on this before we move on. But so, Dr. Morris, am I hearing you say that go ahead with this group to come up with some kind of correspondence if we have a motion here to do that?
I would think that would be reasonable, so at least they're aware of what this group's concerns are.
So Jason, I turn back to you if you want to put a motion on board that this committee would write some kind of correspondence to the city with regard to its plans moving forward on whether or not, if it does away with the health department, what are its plans or
Christina, process, is it capable? Are we capable of drafting something and getting approval through email, or is the sunshine law too cumbersome for that to be done? So I guess I'm asking, do I need to try to draft something right now for board consideration, or do we have a moment?
Christina, you're speaker and none.
So as long as we had a subcommittee where there's 4 members, no more, looking over the letter, then we would not have to do this as an open meeting. Otherwise, we would have to bring the letter back for consideration of the full group and discuss it only in an open meeting, if it's going to be 5 or more, which, as long as I have about 48 hours notice, I could always call a special meeting of the Board of Health for that to happen. That is always a possibility, or we need to consider four members.
I just want to make sure whatever the group finds consensus with is got the right tone. And I didn't prepare something for consideration, so I apologize for that. Happy to draft something to bring for your consideration, but I want to make sure we're doing it properly. And I do, and part of what I would advocate for is this body is part of that conversation. We ask is what's the city planning? When they terminated the Board of Health years ago, those of you that know me well know I have a bit of a temper, and so I expressed myself very bluntly with a mayor and 2 council members that evening. And there was an emergency Board of Health meeting, and when we arrived, we said, "What's the plan?" And they looked at us and said, "That's why we're meeting with you all, to develop the plan." And it was after we'd already eliminated the health department. So I'm not trying to create conflict here, but I think we have a need to be somewhat proactive in advocating for this the city to involve this your all's expertise. I'm a layperson, but your all's expertise in this conversation. And so I think this has got to be toned and properly written. So we're thoughtful. Anyway, I'm uncomfortable doing this one on the fly.
I'm just saying, it makes sense by hearing Christina correctly. If you want to form a 4-member team to do something, then you could call a meeting after that is completed to share it with the group for adoption.
Correct. We can do that. That would be within the boundaries.
Well, then I would move that we ask the chair to form a subcommittee to prepare correspondence from the Board of Health to the city regarding our interest in participating in a conversation about the future of the health department and the need to engage outside expertise and evaluate service levels between provided and could be offered by another entity and issues around finance. And I think I covered, but I'm certainly open if I missed a big topic, but I just want people to be aware of what I think ought to be framed in that letter. So you got something.
At this point, I guess
don't
we would
want
just
to
entertain who would like to be a part of that. We need 4 people.
Let me apologize. I kind of came in on this late, so I think I've missed quite a bit of this discussion, and I'm trying to kind of get myself caught up. And if you could give me a 15-second summary of what has triggered this.
I'm going to speak because Christina works for the city and I want to respect that. I think it's financially driven. The reality is at the national level, the grants that support our public health system nationwide have been impacted by the current administration. There are fewer. I think it's safe to say there are fewer today than there were a year ago, and the funding levels of them and the requirements. So there's a challenge, and we're heavens. Missouri is what, 48th the state in the nation on funding public health, something silly like that already. So I believe it was revenue, but if Christina wants to correct me, I'm certainly open to that.
So revenue is part of it. I can say that, I've worked with finance for the last several months. We meet monthly to look over the budgets as many other departments do also. And right now, so our health side of the department, there's our food inspectors, for lack of a better term, and they're supported by permitting fees. Their inspections and all of those things support them. All of the other staff on the health side, including myself, are grant funded. We have enough funding currently, as long as the federal government does not change their mind tomorrow, to carry us most of the way through, all the way through this current fiscal year and most of the way through the next. So right now, it looks like with the current funding, we would be maybe short in May 2027. Our hope, of course, is that there'll be other grants that come along that we can get, that there would be, we're very conservative with our spending. And so possibly some of the grants next year may be slightly higher than they are this year. But yes, there is a concern that the funding won't be there. There's also a concern that the words that have been used are a duplication of services, that Jackson County is already providing some services. And so it would just be natural to allow them to take over and provide those services again. Those are the big concerns that I've heard. I have a very biased opinion myself, but of course I'm the director and I love our mission and my staff love our mission. So I don't see it as a duplication of services. We serve our population and we do our our duties, and we do them passionately because we love our hometown. And we do some services that Jackson County doesn't do, and Jackson County does some services that we don't do, but it's because for the most part, we have different grants that have different deliverables needed for them. And we try to choose those grants and what deliverables we're going to do based on our community health assessment and the needs of our community. So we try to be strategic about it. Not everyone agrees. And that's why this is being looked at. I'm hoping that answered your question, Dr. Legler. I know it's a broad.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I'm trying to be diplomatic here, but there's no question nationwide that public health is functioning in a very hostile climate, especially just this, recent past. And it's definitely made your job very difficult, no doubt about it. And it's a nationwide problem right now.
So I'll go back to my original question. If there are 4 members who want to work on crafting some kind of correspondence, and then at such time you could convene a meeting of the entire board to review the letter before submitting it to the council for consideration.
I'm bringing it up, so I'm happy to serve on that committee, sir.
Okay. Dr. Morris?
Yeah.
Yep. Suchman.
Suchman, thank you. One more?
I'll throw myself in. The only thing is I'm probably for the next month, it's going to be really hard for me to do much on that. So, I don't know what your time frame is there.
I would propose we do most of it by email and maybe a quick Zoom.
Okay, well, thanks to those, and then I'll leave it to Christina to reconvene the group at such time. So, Christina, next item.
Well, I was going to say, we've actually covered some of the issues. So the item that we actually were on before we discussed why we're on the item is budget and funding. As I discussed, we currently have budget to carry our current staff through this fiscal year and most of the way through the next year. We are continuing to apply for additional grants. There are several grants that we had hoped to hear about in October, but then with the federal shutdown, those decisions were delayed on those grants. So we still have not heard, and those decisions have been pushed back to this month. And I'm more than willing to go over the really gritty, boring details. If anybody actually wants to go that depth, then maybe that's something that ends up happening from the letter from the subcommittee once that's done. And I know Jason had brought up the Recreation Health Fund. So funding. So I need to preface this by saying I am not a lawyer, nor am I an accountant. So I am going to give the best explanation I possibly can of the Recreation Health Fund. The Recreation Health Fund was passed back in 1962 by independence voters. And what it does is it's a property tax that is, the ceiling of it is set at 40 cents. It is specifically for, as it sounds, recreation, so parks, things like that, and health, public health. Currently, it is split. So 2/3 of it goes to parks, and then it was 1/3 of it going to health. With animal control moving over to police on July 1st, we actually now split our third with the police department. And so our part is only about 300,000 of the approximately $2.4 million that comes in. Now, the amount that we actually collect is right around, instead of the 40 cents, it's the 22 cents. And that actually has to do with the Hancock Amendment, which back in the early 80s stated that cities couldn't just, if housing prices went up, the market went up very quickly, the county and municipalities couldn't just take that windfall and collect a boon in property taxes. There have been, several lawsuits recently about, property taxes going up drastically. This is related to that. My understanding is that it can only go up so much as the consumer price index is the increased amount that's allowed to be gotten each year. Because of that, although the Recreation Health Fund levy had that cap of 40 cents, it has gone down to 22 cents over the years because that adjustment has had to be made to keep with the Hancock Amendment. It is the belief, but there is not anything for sure, that very possibly if we were to go back out to a vote on this, we could take it back up to that 40 cents and recapture that difference of about 18 cents. But it would have to go, it looks like it would actually have to go back out to a vote, because the reason why the lowered amount is being collected right now is because of that Hancock Amendment. So if it were to go back out to a vote, there's a good chance, and people approved it, that there would be an extra $2 million available for the city each year for recreation and health issues. So hoping that made sense to everyone. I know that I am, again, not an accountant, not a lawyer, and this is not an absolute sure thing and would require a lot of work by the city in order to make it pass.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I had opportunity to review some of the background on this, and I'm neither a lawyer or an accountant or very smart, but I play in Jeff City on my paid job, and so reading laws is not alien. I had a chance to catch up with a gentleman with the Department of Health named Dan Bogle. He has been there quite a few years and is their policy person, and he walked me through. So I'm curious, Christina, you're pretty confident it's got to go back to a vote of the public, and that's based on somebody's already done an assessment of the impact? Because this is complicated stuff, and it moves into not just an attorney's review, but a capable attorney's review, because it's predicated on a 1962 vote and establishing a levy level, and then you got to calculate in the Hancock factors. And so has somebody done the assessment, or is somebody simply making an assumption? Because until the assessment's done, I don't want to unequivocally say it's got to go to a vote of the public, because the city resets their levy every year. And depending on many factors, there could be some capacity still in there. I'll shut up.
Christina, where's the revenue come from? Is it, how do they actually generate that revenue?
So it's property tax. If you look on
Okay,
your
so yeah,
property,
that school districts, the fire department, everybody, the libraries, all are under the same restriction on capturing growth as a result of reassessment, and CPI is the maximum amount, other than new construction. You get to capture everything.
and Jason, to answer your question, am I confident or am I sure? No, I am not. And the city is not done with their assessment, which is why I can say that we're not totally sure, mostly sure, but that is not 100% answer. And it's going to take a lot more time to figure out the right answer.
The reason I say let's get the assessment is when he was walking me through that chunk of the state law, and I don't have my notes in front of me. It's 94 something. But he indicated he'd found some examples in real life of health departments that were at a lower level levy than they needed to be, and they had capacity under the cap to bump up. It wasn't huge amounts, but it, and so he said, you've really got to do that, and have that done. You don't have Jason do it on the back of a napkin is basically what he said. So, thank you.
Are there any other questions about Recreation Health Fund? It sounds like I should let Dr. Ruddy possibly answer some of these questions, but I know. The next, and we can go into as much depth as you guys would like. The functions, the services in comparison with Jackson County. As I indicated before, a lot of the services we offer are the same, which makes sense. We're both local public health agencies, so we get a lot of the same pass-through dollars for the state to perform a lot of the same deliverables. There are some that that we provide and some different groups that we do that Jackson County does not. It makes sense. We also, with emergency preparedness joining the health department this fiscal year, we have emergency preparedness activities that we do that Jackson County Health Department does not participate in. We hold things such as the Social Service Summit. We do different trainings than Jackson County does. The biggest thing that we keep coming back to is, a lot of the things we do are just because they're very specific to Independence's need. We have a lot of, and I'm preaching to the choir here, mental health issues that need to be addressed for Independence. We want to make it a priority. That is not necessarily the same need that the rest of Eastern Jackson County sees. So we have it as more of a priority in a lot of our grants than some others do. Hence the ARCH program and similar items like that. When it comes to our food inspectors, we inspect more types of establishments than the county does. And in fact, more than a lot of the state, including massage and tattoo parlors. Those are things that we do. Our childcare vaccination audits are specific to Independence, and that's something that we started back up when our health department came back full force. We can go through, I have a 4-page list comparing them, and I'd be happy to send that to the group for our next meeting to consider. Yes. And so I'll do that when we come back to consider the letter or the resolution being sent forward by the group. I'll make sure to include that long 4-page list comparing, who does what. And then I know the last thing that we have there under this this piece is accreditation. Jackson County, I have to hand it to them. They recently earned their accreditation. They should be very proud. This is a very, very hard process to do. It is a lot of work, a lot of time. Lauren Campbell, my public health manager on here, is helping me try to get through this. We have gone through our assessment and are starting, down the pathways track towards accreditation. There are things that it's going to take time for us to get done. The one thing Jackson County most definitely has that we don't have are a lot more people. We currently are operating on the health side with about 13.7 staff members. We have a couple of part-timers in there that make up that 0.7. So it's a lot to try to also work on accreditation at the same time and get everything together and get policies done and quality improvement. We are still working towards it, but we are not accredited, and I will say that we're not. We wish we were, and we'll continue working on it. Any questions? Anything I missed?
No, thank you, Christina. I think that concludes our agenda for this evening. So, seeing anything else, scheduled meeting of the group.
We do have a line for new business on our agenda. I don't know if there's any new business. I know that several of our members are members of other groups also who sometimes want to come and share everything else that's going on. So we do have that new business there. If you
Okay.
would like to consider that, Dr. Ruddy.
Oh, sure. If they're here, if they have something to share that's valuable, go ahead.
I'm serving on one of the committees that deal with the unhoused in the community, and unfortunately, I was not able to attend the most recent meeting. But it's been a extremely eye-opening participation in the various groups that serve those in need. And this past year, we actually got a reasonable idea of how many people are truly unhoused in the community. I mean, we all know, I mean, the people in this group can name who it is that stands on the corner of Nolan Road and I-70, and who's sleeping in which woods and which camps are populated. But they did a extremely good job this year of doing a review of how many people in the community we have that are unhoused. And like I think I mentioned at the last meeting, they don't pay a whole lot of attention as to which side of the street they live on. So if they happen to be living on the woods on the left-hand side of a certain road and they're in Blue Springs, they don't pay much attention to that, but they're actually living in Independence. So that group is continuing to do work. Councilman McCandless is working very hard with that group as well. And so there's some good progress coming out as far as the 8 or 10 organizations that are in the community that try to help these folks become housed and find food and find more places to sleep, are doing a great job of working together and sharing data, which unfortunately sometimes cities aren't necessarily good at. So just kudos to them, and very good things are coming out of that. So good for the citizens.
Thank you. Any other items under new business? Well, hearing none, I will call for adjournment. And thank everybody for their attendance. Christina, next meeting is scheduled, regular scheduled meeting is when? I always ask you this, don't I? It'd be wrong if I didn't ask you this.
So the first Thursday in February. Hold on, I got to be smart enough. I don't know why I can never know you're going to ask. It's February 5th.
But it's easier to put you on the spot.
So February 5th at 6 p.m. will be the next regularly scheduled meeting. I will let the group know and make sure to try to send out notice as quickly as possible if the group needs to meet earlier than that in order to approve something from the subcommittee.
Okay. Thank you and happy holidays, everyone.